So they run our events. They hold things like pitch competitions and programs during the summer where your startup can get funding. So all that really fun stuff that really you would think of when it comes to a student entrepreneurship center. Beyond that, as Hallie also mentioned, working on my own startup. It's in the Web3 crypto space. So I know some of you guys may have heard of that space before. Think it's a scam, think it's weird, or maybe you invest in it. Happy to talk all about that too. But I actually built that this summer through the program that the center has. Actually, today, it's pretty crazy. Just raised our first round of money for this, so I'm excited about that. Good chat about that process too. But beyond that, though, I think I'm involved on campus in a lot of our different clubs and stuff like that. So our investment fund, Black Business Club, EGWE, which is our Black Student Union, and that's actually meeting right now. So I won't be there for our meeting this week. And also involved in a couple of programs like the Lead Scholars Program, ACE program, and some other programs too. And lastly, as Hallie mentioned, did some internships. One at Goldman, obviously, one at a firm called Insight Partners. So the whole like finance space as well. But anyway, that was a lot of information. I think what's more helpful is I can definitely structure any questions and answers around the experience of entrepreneurship, experience being BIPOC at Santa Clara, or anything at all. So I want to really give these next 24 minutes to you guys to ask me any questions you have. Yes, and this is a recorded session. Thank you, Jasmine. I appreciate that. What's in your guys' minds? Questions? Ask me anything. It can be about entrepreneurship, building. Put it in the chat as well. You can private DM me if you don't want people to see your question or see who asked the question, or put in the chat, or you can come off mute and ask me as well. Definitely. So, as entrepreneurs, awesome. So hit that first question. Awesome. So we got some good questions coming in. So Jasmine asks, you go into depth of what you are involved in. Definitely. So I won't touch on everything. There's a lot. You guys will see like when you come to SCU. So I'm a business student. I'm in the I major in finance. I'm a junior and say all that stuff before. And I'm from the Chicagoland area, so we can talk about being out of state as well. But I'm involved in a lot of different things. Some things are business focused, like what's called our Santa Clara Investment Fund. Essentially, what that is actually help to create that here. And we raise money from this endowment, essentially. So we get to invest real money into stocks, which is pretty cool. So it's like students investing in the stock market, and we have a training program, and we teach students how to invest, and we get to do it using real money. And then the Lead Scholars Program is it's a program for first gen students. Maybe some of you guys are first gen here, but Lead is phenomenal. I mean, like it's a great support system if you're a first gen student. So like highly recommend, if you are in it, or if you will be in it soon, you probably don't know yet because it hasn't started, but if you're a first gen student, Lead is a great program. They will reach out to you and invite you to join. Highly recommend you guys join. Lead is phenomenal. And the last two I'll mention is the Black Business Club. That's phenomenal. Essentially, it's a lot of business majors who are Black, essentially, and it's a great space for us to just chat, talk, kind of really talk about things we see in the business school, things that we want to see more Black professors. I don't think there's one at all in the business school. So just really us trying to make changes in the business school of Black students. And then lastly, EGWE, which is Black Student Union, part of the MCC, which is a multicultural club. So there's really for every background, ethnicity, there is a student running club for it. So that's one thing about SU. We have a lot of amazing clubs. So whatever you identify with, there's a club for you at Santa Clara, and mine is EGWE, Black Student Union. So great question. What advice do you have for entrepreneurs? It's a great question. So I'm by no means like a seasoned entrepreneur, but I've always been excited by the idea of like building and creating things. And a lot of people like to build their own thing because they want to be their own boss and they want to have a chance to create and solve a really big problem. So for me, I think the advice that I would have is to be very courageous because it's very hard to start your own thing. I think the idea of building a company is like sometimes over glamorized. It's a lot of work that goes into it. Again, like I just started building a company like maybe like 6 months ago, and we literally just as of today, which is crazy, actually got an outside investor to invest in our company. So it's like, um, it's like it's a very hard and long process, and I'm just excited to like learn about it. And, wherever this goes, whether it's great or it's not great, just be able to learn to be in school and build a company is really exciting. So for any of you like thinking about it, you have a really cool idea, I highly encourage you like to like push through and go with it, right? If you need help, go to the center, the Silica Center, which I mentioned earlier. They can help you out a lot. But it's just an awesome experience to be able to build something for yourself. And lastly, besides being courageous and really confident and like understanding that it's a hard road, I'd also recommend like get involved early on when you come to campus, because if you are interested in like building your own company, it's important to network with students that can help you do that, right? Like you can never build something on your own. Like I have an amazing co-founder and we have some folks on our team. Like you can never do something on your own. And we're like in the earliest stages still, right? So even as, if we, grow and grow, like there's gonna be a lot more that we need to have like on our team. So I think most important thing to do is make sure you're networking and meeting a lot of awesome people. And it's cool because you go to college, right? Like you're at Santa Clara. There's the talented students that are engineers, that are business majors, that you can talk to that are in arts and sciences that have a certain skill set, like, so I would just advise you to be courageous, confident, network with people, and understand that it's hard work, but it's also fun just to work on a project while you're in college too, even if it ends up, not going anywhere. Great question. Next is, are there any health related entrepreneurship programs? Which is, yes, there are. So if you're interested in things like, I don't know if you guys heard these crazy buzzwords like climate tech or biotech or healthcare tech. There's all that fun stuff. But yes, actually, we have a food and innovation center here on campus. I think I like didn't say that name right, but anyway, they focus on like really like the science of food and like building companies around food. So that's pretty cool. Also, I know we have a lot of folks really interested in things like climate tech right now, right? Because a big issue with the world, as you guys all know, is there's a lot of issues with climate change, right? So like, how can we use technology to help solve those issues? Santa Clara is definitely, really big on that. And I know in the program I was in this summer, there was actually 2 people working on companies in the health related field out of like, I think 10 or 15. So it's like definitely like a good amount of people are focused on that. And if that's your interest, absolutely you can, learn about that at the Silica Center. Also, it's worth mentioning that like entrepreneurship isn't just building companies like by any means. Like entrepreneur, like the idea of it and the discipline of it, you can learn. Like there's a minor here, so if you want to learn more about the idea of building your company, I would highly encourage you to minor in that. It's open to all majors. And then also like you can be entrepreneurial in your classrooms at a company. Like it doesn't just have to be you creating a business. It could be you like being in a group and maybe you're working at like Google or something and you create something at Google. Like you're being entrepreneur about, adding a new line of business there, right? It's just like, it's not just building a company. So if you are interested in health related fields, there's a lot of ways you can kind of foster the discipline without actually having to build your own company. But great question there. Next question is, what's your experience been like as a person of color at SCU, and especially in the business program? Definitely. So SCU, there's pros and cons, right? So cons first. I like getting the bad things out the way. SCU is a predominantly white institution. So what does that mean, right? That means that like majority of the people that you're going to see on campus in your classrooms are going to be white students, especially in the business school. Business school is very, very white at Santa Clara. But I would say though, it's like what's awesome about SCU is like whether like the communities we have are very small, but we're very connected. Like literally, like there's like I could tell you every Black student at Santa Clara. I could tell you like a fourth or half of the Latinx students at Santa Clara. Like we're very connected. So that's awesome. Is like, yes, you go to a school that's majority white, but you get to go on this journey with like other people. And we have clubs and meetings and events and parties and stuff that's like makes it very close knit. So if you are worried about that or have that in the back of your head, like I had that worry, honestly, I wouldn't worry about that, because when you come to a place like this, like you can find your community here. And of course, there's going to be cons and bad things, and things you're going to see are folks that are stupid or ignorant, that don't understand certain things about you and your culture. That will happen everywhere, and it definitely happens here. I'm not saying that it doesn't, but I would highly encourage like you can find your community here in programs like being in the MCC, being like on one of those multicultural clubs, doing lead or getting involved can really help you meet your people. So that's a great question. what would you say is the importance of entrepreneurship in minority communities? It is so important. Like, God damn, like this is like I am like a big believer that like the way that we can really kind of change and see more prosperity for minority people is to build our own stuff. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like I really believe that like for us to, solve the problems that we care about, like equal access to education or opportunities or banking resources, like, like anything at all. Like, I mean, like it comes from us building and creating our own thing. So if you look at a lot of the things that a lot of the companies, small businesses, big businesses are owned by white individuals, right? And therefore they own and they control what's happening, what's going on. Of course, you have the government, public sector, like that's fine. But I think the private sector, like companies and businesses being started and being built, that are things that we use every day in our lives are super important, that they're minority owned and that minority people believe that they can create their own things and build their own companies. A lot of us maybe come from certain backgrounds that we think, hey, like I need to get a really good job, make a lot of money, which is important. Like, trust me, like it's you want to make a lot of money, you want to have a good job. But we kind of get afraid of like, I don't want to take the risk to go in and build something because what if I fail? Then like I have nothing to back me up, right? So again, it is a big risk, but also like the opportunity is so much larger, right, than working at a company, right? Like really like both financially, but also like just you feeling like you've done something that you saw and like you're doing what you love to do. So anyway, I go on forever about that, but I think it's super important that minorities, at least explore the idea of creating something on their own, because I think it's like a real big way for us to solve all the problems that we care about. So that's a great question. All right, next question. How easy is it to change majors or change schools? Great question. Major wise, very easy. In your first 2 years, whether you're in the business school, engineering, arts and sciences, you don't declare your major until your end of your sophomore year. So what does that mean? That means like you can come in right away and know what you want to do for sure, and you can declare right away. But if you don't know yet, you want to try some things out, you can wait to declare the major that you want to have. So you have time to think about what you want to do before you actually have to like be set in stone. Because at SCU we have a lot of like gen eds, right? Like a lot of things that like you have to do and like everyone has to do, whether you're in the business school, arts and sciences. So you'll do a lot of that your first 2 years. And then you really start your major classes like end of your second year towards junior and senior year. So again, like you have a lot of time. So it is easy to switch majors back and forth. School wise, I know for the business school, at least you have to like apply. If you're not already in it and you want to get in it, you just like apply to get in it. I actually had a friend who did that, got actually two friends who did that, got in. So I don't know if it's like a hard process or not, but I do know that if you want to change schools, there's probably an application involved in that. And it's probably better to do that either after your freshman year or your sophomore year. Um, what is the best way to develop an entrepreneurial mindset? So that's a great question. So for those who don't know, essentially like what that means, that's just really the idea of like the mindset of an entrepreneur. So the mindset of like solving problems, taking the first step, being courageous, being confident. You can do all these different things in a million different settings, right? So we mentioned one earlier, which is like when you're working at a company, you can have an entrepreneurial mindset, right? Like you can be the person to solve a problem for Google and create a new line of business, right? Or you can be the person in your group to figure out that problem set that was keeping everyone behind. Or you can be that person in the group that like, hey, they ask people a question, you're the one to answer it first, and you kind of like take that first step. So there's a lot of ways you can kind of have that mindset of being first, taking risks, being confident, being courageous. And even like in the classroom, right? Like there's two things that come to mind. One of them is if you're in the business school, there's a lot of like group-based projects. Even if you're not, there's all like group work, and it sometimes sucks being in a group, but it's sometimes good being in a group. But being a leader, right, in that group, and ensuring that like you're the one that's really delegating, guiding, and ensuring that like you guys are like doing what you need to do. Again, entrepreneurial mindset right there, right? And lastly, like when you're in class and they ask like, hey, does someone know the answer to this question? And there's like 30 seconds of silence, like actually like trying to step up and answer that question, even if you don't get it right, is again like showing that mindset of wanting to be first, taking risks. So there's a lot of really cool ways to embody the mindset, even if you're not building a company. How's the support for first-gen students at SCU, especially those from low-income backgrounds? Great question. So I identify with both of these. So I would say it's very program based. So what I mean by that is like the LEAD Scholars Program for first-gen students. is one of the most helpful things that I've ever had at Santa Clara. So if you are a first-gen student, most likely you'll be in LEAD. And LEAD is a program, like I mentioned earlier, for first-gen students. And essentially what LEAD is to provide you with a lot of resources to help you kind of get over that transition to college, right? So whether it's events focused on a lot of things that you need to know how to do, from how do you be a college student in classes, where do you get your books, how is it being far from home, like things that you would ask your parents if they went to college. Like LEAD answers all those questions for you. And there's classes that you take for LEAD. There's a big LEAD week, like the week before school starts, where you get to meet all your other LEAD peers, and they really have like a good fun week before school starts. So LEAD is a great program for first-gen students. Outside of LEAD, I would say, I mean, I don't know. I think it's like not helpful or not, non-helpful. I think it's just like Santa Clara just like a lot of folks don't understand what it's like to be a first-gen student. That's why LEAD exists. So the support that I look for as a first-gen student definitely comes from LEAD. And LEAD really caters to those from low-income backgrounds as well. And there's LEAD grants, scholarships if you need money for certain things. If you have a internship that's unpaid and you want to make money, they'll give you a grant to make money during an unpaid internship. So I'm basically answering your question by saying LEAD is a great program, and if you're first gen and low income, you will 100% be in LEAD. So that support system is very helpful. That's a great question, because I am really from the same background. Give us more information about the Silica Center. How do you join, and what do students normally do within the center? Perfect question. Obviously, this is centered around the Silica Center. So the Silica Center is the Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation on campus. So what that means is they serve as a resource for any programs, events. I mentioned that there's a minor that you can take. Everything like that runs through their center, essentially. And they have a student advisory board, which I mentioned earlier, which I sit on, where we help advise them on, how do they connect better with students? How do they help students more, not only just start companies, but also like help them learn about the discipline of entrepreneurship. And essentially how you get involved with the center is they have a lot of events that they put on, like a business pitch competition. There's this venture capital competition that they put on. They have open office hours. You can come and just chat with them. If you have an idea for a company, they can help you walk through it. They have a lot of different programs that they help you with. Like if you have a company idea, there's something called the Idea School, or if you have an idea, you have like no plan, no business at all, they'll help you take your idea and actually turn it into an actual business. And then there's something called Prep School, where it's like if you have like the first versions of a business, they can help you take that to the next level. And then they have the accelerator program during the summer, which is what I did, where you have a business and now you're trying to scale it, raise money for it, and all that fun stuff, right? So there's a lot of resources, programming, events that the center puts on, all focused around entrepreneurship. How do you foster this discipline and this mindset, essentially? And then what do students normally do? Yeah, so really, you can also intern at the center as well. So if you want to work there, if you're looking for like jobs, also I interned there in my first year. So also a place where you can work as well. But students get involved by joining their programs, by interning, or by serving on the student advisory board as well. So great question. All right, what other questions do you guys have? Still have some time left. Questions, and it doesn't have to be about entrepreneurship at all either. It could be about SEU, what it's like here, the programs, advice. Yeah. So advice that I've been giving to students really like all day is like getting involved is one of the most important things about going to college, because when you look at college, like you're here to go to school, right, and then get a career, a really good job after. And there's a lot of fun things that happen in between coming to college and leaving college, like, with a career that you should take advantage of. Like college is about like having this really good network of people that you can meet and learn from, folks that will be your friends, folks that you will work with one day. So I just highly encourage you, like when you come to campus, like find ways to get involved. Whether it's in a club of interest, there's a lot of clubs here to get involved with, whether it's with Greek life, whether it's with sports, you want to do a club sport, intramural, whatever it is. whether it's you just getting involved in your classrooms, going to office hours, like just getting involved in meeting as many people as possible will make your experience um, a million times more fun than just, hey, go to school, do your homework, and then go, get a good job. Like it's not like high school, where like you're in class all day and you leave and you go home, do homework, like and you go on the weekends. That's it. It's like no, like every day you can enjoy yourself and do things and meet people and have a good time. So highly encourage you guys to get involved. That's my number one piece of advice. What are your favorite things about the school environment? Favorite things is we go to school in California. That's amazing in the Bay Area. Um, I mean, we have a very beautiful campus. If you guys haven't been here, it's very beautiful. I think it's like ranked like one of the top 5. Like so, like I love that about SCU, because that like gives off good energy and really good vibes as well. I like that like we're in a place as well where like you do need a car. I'm not gonna lie. You do need a car to get a lot of places. But if you have a car, there's so many things you can do around this area, like outside of campus, like Santana Row, SF, Tahoe, Santa Cruz beaches, go out with friends to eat, movies, party. Like there's schools around us, San Jose State, Stanford. It's like so there's a lot to do around here. So I love that as well. Um, and lastly, like I love all the programs and involvements you have that you can like get involved in and the folks that you can meet. So I mean, all those things together is why I've enjoyed my time so far here. And I didn't know that coming in honestly because it's SEU, so probably went school, like it's small school, like I didn't know much about it at all. But it's turned out to be good. I mean, I still have a year and a quarter left, but it's been good so far. And then any comments on internship opportunities to leave school? For sure. So um, internships are super important. I've done one every summer, freshman year, sophomore year, junior year. You do not have to do one every summer, so don't worry about like don't feel stressed out if you don't have one year after your first year. I'm not gonna lie though, a lot of the roles that I found and I did were outside of Santa Clara, or outside of so like I networked with people like that I found like LinkedIn or emails to get a job that I had. But I will say like Santa Clara brings a lot of good companies in, whether it's like Google, the big 4 accounting firms, Accenture, some of the other companies like Microsoft, whatever, Apple, they do bring in like those big tech companies and big accounting firms. I was looking to get involved in the investing industry. So that was a bit out of the scope of like what SCU brings in. But I think like the business school, if you're in the business school, you will have no problem finding an internship your junior year. If you want one before that, your first year, sophomore year, it'll take like more work on like your end. But junior year, if you go to the career fairs, you get involved in a couple clubs, you have no problem finding one. Now there's certain ones that like you have to like work a bit harder for, like I mentioned earlier, you have to like actually do outreach, network for, which happy to talk about that. But yeah, so definitely Levy School is great. Companies love it here. They come, they recruit. You have no problem finding a job, a good job. But I just know for me personally, the career paths that I wanted were a little bit out of the scope of Santa Clara. What advice did you give to new admitted students to succeed on their first year at SCU? That's a great question. Kind of what I mentioned earlier, getting involved, but I'll probably pick something a bit different now. So besides just getting involved, I think what's also really important to remember too is like to enjoy your time and have fun. Like you're gonna come in, it's gonna be busy, it's gonna be crazy, hectic. You're on the quarter system, and you might feel uncomfortable going out, meeting people and stuff like that. But I like highly encourage you, like in your first year, like you will have much better mental health, physical health if you take time to enjoy yourself and take time to like step away from the books in school. School is super important. I'm not saying it's not. I work very hard in class as well, but at the same time, this is high school, right? Like you want to, like you're living on your own. If you're, living in a dorm, like you want to go out, have fun, experience things. So highly encourage in your first year to take those opportunities, right? Like if you have a chance to go somewhere, do something, have fun, like please do that because that will make the experience so much better. Of course, school's first, and you want to get a great job in your career. There's no one bigger of an advocate of that than me. So, so yeah, I would highly encourage that for you. But yeah, have fun. So I know we're at 6:30, guys. So or in 10 seconds will be. But I appreciate you guys coming, asking phenomenal questions. This was great, and please enjoy all of your next sessions. Great to meet all of you guys. Appreciate the questions.